self-defining.
Camera on.
So I guess, yeah, I had the reasonable breakthrough that what we're doing here, like this end of it, kind of makes sense. It doesn't have the suspend disbelief programs at the beginning. Like, first we have to raise £2,000 to justify having a day that lets us raise maybe £10,000 so that, you know, more people can come through, and then it'll need to be...
You can get a loan for £55,000 after £10,000, and then we could get more people in, and all their donations would let us borrow another £100,000, etc.
Yeah, but that's a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
And they don't work.
Infinite growth scheme.
Yeah, but because the energy's going into the getting of the thing that allows the thing to happen.
It's losing energy before it starts.
Yeah. There are patterns like that in emergence where, for example, the idea of making a sacrifice of belief in a viable future reality, essentially. But yeah, I mean, it is a different thing when you're talking about money, but it's analogous. It's still an investment of you know, pentacles.
Well, you were saying about no matter what way you put the energy in, it's this polarized output.
Well, at the minute, like the last week, there was a really kind of dualistic choice thing going on, and you know, I kind of came through. I could see where I was in both camps, and kind of an equal on both sides of the divide. But one goes one way and invokes a future that is a certain shape, and the other goes another way with the same amount of input, essentially.
Yeah, that's really accurate.
Yeah.
That's the same for others.
And so I went to check the space out, because I checked the space out here after you gave your same way. You've got a meeting on a hill and a meeting on a river to discuss an idea of a thing maybe happening in the future. And both sounded pretty cool, you know. Kind of similar even. You know, like maybe we could do both. Or I could do both and try and balance that. But then, after seeing the space and seeing really where that tunnel led, because it has always led there, you know, that's what it's for. And it's got gatekeepers that pull people into the tunnel saying, this is the future, this is a really exciting opportunity for you, this will make you mean something. Okay, the pimp. And I was going along with it, you know, I was going, well, you know, this guy's really flash, you know, charismatic. I'd like to be like him, you know, confident and assured and being able to, you know, sell stuff, make people believe in your ideas. I don't really do that. I just have them and then forget them immediately. And if any catch on, then that's just a bonus. Not really a salesman. But yeah, once we got out of the meeting where we were being milked by an agent of abstraction for ideas that would sell. And it's like, we need ideas that would sell, and we need them by Thursday, because I've got to go to all the people that, like, I'm pimping you to and tell them that I've got some really fucking hot property that'll do anything, basically. They've got no parameters of, like, it has to be this specifically, and, like, this is the future where I'm going, and it cannot be interfered with. If you don't have that in place, then you're fair game. Like, you just go down the tunnel, and yes, it's a gas chamber, and yes, that's how it works. You know, there's kind of a complicity.
A canal. If you're not careful of creating your own river flow, then you go down a canal. And it's got locks all the way along.
So the labyrinth that we were proposing to build in the gas chamber with the idea that there was some kind of alchemical transmutation that could occur in a 3-act play that would identify the kind of stages of coming to terms with self and becoming enlightened. That was the core of the narrative that we were inspired to create in that space. In a way, that has happened as a result of running that thought experiment. It just happened really quickly in the course of a week, rather than going through the locking into the idea of the pattern of the mechanism by which we will achieve that.
And then following through the mechanism
and following
losing
through the mechanism
idea.
and getting stuck in the actual machinery of
losing the idea.
Well, the mechanism is nowhere near there yet.
No, what we're talking about, what I'm hearing in this is he's saying the same experience. I mean, I don't even know what he's talking about, essentially, but I'm guessing. But he's saying the same experience of what we went through the machinations of in Regent's Park with the Treehouse Gallery.
Mm.
That same machination is welcoming its arms again. Might be a different head of the dragon, but it's the same fucking chamber at the back. We're just going to rape all your ideas and have a party when you've finished. But you come, you work, you make it look really groovy. We tell everybody it's groovy. You fuck off. We get another set of dummies in. Tell everybody it's groovy. They work like donkeys.
Yeah.
Can't even have a fire. No spirit in the thing. The idea dead. The machinations claiming all the glory of the idea. I think what he's saying is you've just been invited to fall into that trap again.
Yeah.
And instead of it being 5 months of hard labour, it's just been a week.
So are you saying there's no way of working through that? It's,
Of course there is.
but do you mean by not engaging with that
No,
at all?
didn't he say if
No.
you go down it not knowing, it's a canal and it leads to a gas chamber? If you know what it is and you keep your idea alive, then it's the other side of Tai Chi. The other half is in the ascendancy. Instead of you all being slaves, you get to live free for 5 months. And you get all the kudos for what you make. And they get to sponsor it. And to say, I don't actually fully understand what it is that they're doing, but it certainly looks good.
There's something confusing about trying to build a machine which is resulting in a form of emergence really deep underground, under Waterloo Station.
Never mind the actual specific idea, and let's talk about this concept. Because if it's decided that that place ain't the place that you want to do it in just because it's a tunnel under Waterloo, then cool, that's the choice you've made, and you don't have to bother wasting another 5 months even thinking about it.
Exactly, that's the kind of stuff I want to
It's
identify.
the concept we really want to get to. Because if we write about the concept, and that place doesn't quite fit what we now know about the concept, then that place is gone, and the next place that does quite fit what we now know about the concept fits in there. And it's got the new parameters that have been created and will be held when the Babelfish comes. And you let yourself be pimped. He can do his job. They can do their job. It's just you've redefined what your job is. Yes, I provide all what you want. But this time you actually provide what we're doing. And that's a guaranteed freedom. Not we're hiding under the hedge with our fire, hoping nobody sees the smoke. We have fires. We have our own. We live in our installation, or whatever it happens to be. Like, it's better if we talk about the concept with the Regent's Park model, because that one we can talk factual about and say, well, it did go this way. That there wasn't a fire, that nobody saw through the bubble enough to say, there has to be a fire.
Yeah, well, I think even now we haven't really been able to state what that was. Like, if there had been a singularity of vision, mission statement of this is the future reality that we're attempting to build here and manifest. And because that was never really...
the whole precept is wrong from that very beginning, you see. For each and every one of you, you've gathered around the wrong post to form a group. Yeah.
How so?
If you'd gathered around a post that said, hey, let's live for free now in Regent's Park, rather than let's show people a paradigm of what the future is going to be like if we all gather together in the park and lobby for this future. Because that's what you did.
Mm.
And you didn't live in the park. Sure, your bodies were living in the park, but your hearts weren't allowed into it. So you didn't live in the park, just your bodies were enslaved in the park.
Mm.
But it's because you gathered around the wrong post.
That sounds fair.
And that's just because the Muppets who happened to get the deal by synchronicity, naturally enough, weren't really aware of the stuff that we've just highlighted. Now that I can say this stuff really easy because, hey, it happened and it went so badly wrong. It's really obvious if you cut it all back why it went so badly wrong in hindsight. But at the time there was no hindsight. It was like, hey, look, here's a fucking cool thing.
Mm.
We have to be on our best behaviour because it's a really cool thing and we want to get more cool things. And that was how simply he gathered around the wrong post. It's not even stupid around that. It's just like an interpretation that's been indoctrinated into us all. But if we break the mold of that indoctrination and know that actually, man, we just want to gather together and start living our truth as art, because that's fucking brilliant art. That's Baird and Tracy Emin's attempt at replicating real life. Then we win. And everyone wins because, hey, Tracy Emin's art ain't that great. And we're all having to look at it in fucking newspapers today. And better if people were looking in the newspapers and seeing people being really good Earth citizens, being lovely, restoring that thing that's apparently lost from society, being that thing that's lost from society, being in the newspaper showing that that thing that's lost from society is back. It's only been gone 10 years, but it's back. There are people living free in the city who are not angry. There are free-thinking people in the city who have not been divided into opposing opinions. That's what our art is. And it is gone. And we're trying to bring back something that has been legislated the fuck out of existence. And that has been programmed out of existence. How we feel about ourselves has been changed. Maybe it's a coincidence that it's accelerated so much with the Facebook stuff and the internet stuff, but the timing is coincidental. That over the last 10 years that we've had internet, we've lost our face-to-face fun that we used to have from recognising another one of us out in the streets who was being blatant rather than hiding. But in many ways, the internet has made us hide more than ever inside of ourselves. We've become observers of what people are doing out there. We're hedging our bets based on what other people are doing as to when we'll come out and have fun again. That's the deep psychology that I see having happened to us.
That process of an amnesia, of remembering who we are.
Yeah.
The process of it. Because there is kind of the very direct approach, but because this involves so much self-investigation and searching out excuse matrices, working out all the different sides of the issue, all the tangles, all the knots. That's something which a lot of people get lost in.
That's something in which everybody is lost. And if we're to come out with art that says, hey, we remember how to have fun, do it in public, do it for art, on display, like we live in a different world to you metronomic weirdo people.
Quantized souls.
Yeah. Like, what me and Toby have been sticking our necks out in so far, out in our worlds, in our sitting rooms, in our homes. We've been sticking our necks really far out in the line in our own homes, saying, fuck it, man, we can just do all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm saying to Toby, drop the label of I'm a mouse, I live in a fucking hutch because I'm mad, and they're experimenting on me so they give me a free place to live. Drop that way of seeing yourself, man. And consider that you're someone who's completely free, who on the surface of things looks mad, is totally paid for, has a home, has a lock, has space to meditate in, has space to do his art in, has it fucking sussed. And that's all just a comprehension inside of his own brain to translate what's happened in his outer world into this all makes sense. So that applies to any of us. But given that freedom inside of oneself to know who I am and yet know the state my personality is in compared to the outside world, I personally choose to let my personality look like it's fucked. It's worth nothing. I continually drag the fucker down into the dirt. Just by doing things that are against the programming and doing them on purpose and doing them with fucking vehemence. But that makes all the people who love personality not like my personality, because my personality does the things that aren't nice. Tells truth to people's faces. Raises voice above people who I think are talking shite. Now, I don't do it everywhere I go. I just do it with people I trust and stuff. Or at events where everyone's just being bad anyway. But if we make our post to be, with this contract we're living free and that's our art, and if the material we make our post out of, that we tie ourselves to, if that tent post is made of a material that is, I know myself, and I know what I'm doing, and I know why I'm doing it, and I know I'm here because I want to be here, and I know I've created this so that I could do this with friends, not just be doing it on my own. If that's the substance that the post is made out of, then that's what we'll get.
If that was my intention, though, to be doing that now, I mean, I know it's possible to do in London, but I still feel that in a place like this, you're pretty fucking far away from the earth. You know, it's cauterized. You know, getting down to it is tricky. It can be done, and I'm not saying it can't, but, you know, if I wanted to hedge my bets and live free, like, no question, this is singular vision, what I'm doing as a right, then I wouldn't be doing it here, I don't think.
Would you be
That
doing
would
it?
just mean that you'd never
Sorry.
come. That would mean that you'd never come to London or any.
Well, or I wouldn't live here.
Deeply popular. No, never.
You wouldn't come at all.
Never come here. Because you are where you live.
Yeah.
And you live where you are.
But I'm guess I'm talking about a dwelling where you grow your
But
food.
no, dig what you're saying again.
Where would you do
We're
it?
here. We're right by nature. We're fully plugged into nature right here.
We
in
walked
London.
here from where I am. Yeah.
So all that is just here right now. Me and Tara lived last summer by the canal, but like where there was just a bit of scotch ground about a foot wide, 30 foot, and we made a whole thing into gardens. And the whole community interacted. It was way better than what the treehouse garden was in terms of people interacting with the exhibit itself. It was fantastic, like, you know, 50, 60 people a day.
Encourage people to grow stuff on
vocalizing
their
vocalizing
windowsills.
about it, but like
People,
a couple of thousand, few thousand a day walking by it, being affected by it, even if they didn't have time to stop and think, it was still. I walked past here for years and it's never had flowers here. There's loads of flowers turning up here over the last few weeks as I walked by. That whole process they were engaged in it, whether they liked it or not, whether they hated it or not.
no one hated it.
But it was an art installation, which was inherent about very deep stuff about the connection to the earth, about the connection to community, about availability for people, not just when I'm in the mood for it, not just when I want something from people, but when I get up first thing in the morning and step out of my boat and there's someone passing by. When the nutters start to realise that they can talk to me, and I've got nutters coming all the time. that kind of stuff. That's deep art, about really subtle stuff. Art that's not on a pedestal with a lot of pimps saying, hey, this is fantastic for the next 5 minutes, but the next thing is going to be even better. So, I mean, on that scale, what we could do here, rather than needing to get loads of investment, and therefore do loads of pre-planning and loads of strategic mental, rather than going that way around, putting on an event for a few months, what about the other way in which here's a place that nobody's got any real claim on and nobody minds. Loads of people love it and go walking there all the time, but nobody from officialdom is really going to mind if some sort of lifestyle, art, theatre thing is evolving there. As long as it doesn't put up any fences anywhere, doesn't bar anybody out, and it doesn't leave any mess. It's just people being in the woods. And where they sleep at night is up to them, but most of us quite happily go home. Loads of us live around here. But on nice nights we might sleep out, but there'd be no trace of that. So that's everything we might have wanted out of the Treehouse Gallery, available to do as we speak. And so we started that last Thursday night. It occurred to me that what we talked about a couple of months here, having the tea garden outside with